Specialist.io.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of User Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And in this episode we're going to be talking about
Manners and etiquette.
Oh my gosh, it's a hot button topic for Delia for sure.
Just a little bit. It pushes my button just a little bit.
Don't forget to follow us on social media at YDFL Podcast. And don't forget to listen to us and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or
YouTube or Alexa.
Ask
I
Alexa.
love asking Alexa, play You Deserve Fresh Lettuce podcast. And she starts from the beginning, so please listen.
Mine starts with Does Size Matter?
Oh my gosh, that's probably why it's like one of the most popular freaking podcasts. Like, does size matter? Today we're going to talk about that.
Alexa wants answers. That's
she
what
wants
it is.
to know the real truth.
All right,
Let's talk about etiquette.
I'm gonna let you lead on this because this is like your.
It's my hot topic.
Yeah.
So obviously, I've been divorced. We all know this for a long time. If you guys have been following us, you've been, we've been sharing our stories, and I go on these dates. Someone tries to say, "Hey, I have a friend of a friend," or my cousin, or what have you, or just going on dates. And I always, there's a couple of things that I look at. I look at whether or not, they have, I'm kind of old school, whether or not they have me walk in the interior of the sidewalk. That's one. Two is, do they use a fork and knife to eat? I mean, if we're eating pizza, that's different. Your finger foods are supposed to be eaten with your hands, and I'm okay with that. But I have seen people literally eat pasta and get the fork and then just
grab a bunch with your hands?
Literally, and slurp it. I've had people blow their nose at the table with the napkin and start blowing snot. It's so disgusting.
Fettuccine, anyone?
I've had people, I've seen the dates that I've been on, I've seen them chew off their nails and spit it out at the restaurant.
God.
And there's moments there where I start looking for the hidden camera. Are you really doing this at the table? And there's been times where I call them out and I'm just like, if you're gonna blow your nose, I don't mind. But people are eating and get up and excuse yourself and go to the restroom. It's really easy. Oh, I can go on.
Okay.
I can go on.
So I haven't seen all that crazy madness.
Because I don't think you date as much as me.
Listen, I don't say yes to just. I'm very specific and particular.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Some of these guys are very educated, by the way. With degrees. I
have been on so many dinners and a lot of lunches, but so many dinners, and then I haven't noticed anything as wild as that.
It's pretty wild.
But there is something that has happened when I'm having the lunch or the dinner that drives me absolutely, positively.
What is it?
It almost ensures that I am not going to make out with them.
Okay. What do they belch?
They do, no.
I don't know. I'm asking for a friend.
But I will tell you, I could be so into this person, and the moment he does this, I am not going to be making out with him. And I can't get past it in my head. It lasts for several dates where I'm just blocked.
But what is it?
It is when they literally have a weird sinus situation and they're clearing it in the back of their throat. It's like a mucusy, like a snort. What I'm talking about? What is that?
Experienced that.
But you know what I'm talking about though.
Totally.
People and then they swallow. There's something going on. That for me, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen it.
I mean, in my opinion, I think it's equivalent to blowing your nose. Either you snort it and swallow, or you do it. What's worse? So it's literally all snot driven, literally snot driven. So either you sit there with the napkin and you blow it out, or you swallow it. I really don't know what's worse. I really don't know.
Just thinking about how I just
disgusting.
became even more single than I have been the last 2 years because I am no.
It's become such a thing for me that it is a deal breaker. I promise you, it's a deal breaker. And it's gotten so bad that, I've even considered, because I'm sure I lack table manners myself because I love eating with my hands and I love talking with my hands and I love eating with my hands, but I know when and where. Yeah. Meaning, you know when to be a certain way. There's always a time and place for everything, and that means when you're eating like at a tailgate, if you're at a football game, if you're out with your friends and you're at a nice restaurant, you got to know how to put the table, place the napkin on your lap. Like there's so many things to it. You have to know when to cut yourself off. If you are drinking, like we like to drink tequila, like I know when one more drink and I'm on the other side. Granted, thank God, I've never not remembered what I've done. Like I'm always very coherent. But there are people and there are men that don't know, and they don't know their limits. And it's this whole thing that I'm very observant, and I will call them out. I'm like, that is really gross that you're like spitting out your nails at the restaurant. Like, seriously, go get a manicure. Like, there's no need for that. And I've had guys that literally will like kill the steak twice, like literally kill the steak. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, the steak is already dead. Like the cow's dead. Like, do you not know? Like, I've literally had to grab their hands and be like, this is how you cut it. And it's kind. I'm not. I shouldn't have to tell a grown man how to eat. That's
but
my
there's
experience.
Like men who are just like, I'm a man, like Neanderthal, like I'm out here, and then there's like the elegant men that are like, okay, my father was a Fortune 500. Like you're not gonna see it across all landscapes. I think that it's like, with my older son, it's so funny. My younger son was a little bit more elegant, and my older son, as much as I would teach him even from a little kid, I finally would just dump his little pastas or whatever on his tray.
Just do your thing.
And then he would just be like, and then even as we would go to restaurants, he would sit better and do all the napkins and everything. But at the end of the day, he would still go and grab things with his hand and move it over here, and we're like, and then his brother would be like, dude, what
in the world? Didn't mom teach you how to?
And it's like, same parent, same household, but two different outcomes. And so it's like, I don't know.
I mean, I've heard also, it's so funny because, the famous, when people are drinking the tea and then, people want to be... And then
don't put your pinky
and up. The pinky is like not it. Or also with the sushi, when you go to a sushi restaurant and you start doing this with the chopsticks, that is very rude to the restaurant owners because it's basically saying that their chopsticks are cheap. Yeah. And I see it more often.
They break them apart and they go...
Yeah, and see, for the longest time, you thought that showed that you knew how to eat sushi. And then when you found out that that's actually rude, then I see it more now when I go to a sushi restaurant. I notice like there's someone across the way, like literally, doing the whole shaving
like
thing. The peasantry. And I'm not saying that I have like the most etiquette or that I'm so proper and what have you. Sometimes I'm talking and I'm eating and I have my elbows on the table because I feel like it. I get that. That's okay, I guess. I'm excusing myself, right? Yeah. But spitting out your nails.
The Hypocrite Podcast.
Welcome to the Hypocrisy Podcast.
Medicine Hypocrisy.
That's what we're having today. No, but spitting out your nails, though, that's pretty out there.
So, like, for me, right, I'm a nail... we talk about this. If I don't have my nails in, I start just going at it with, like, the cuticles and everything. I cannot imagine sitting there, or anyone, doing that and be like, puh, and, like,
it's
spitting it on the ground.
It out. And I'm sitting across from this person, and I'm like, he literally is spitting out his nails. Wow. And so, for me, it's just building on the content, because I'm like, I don't think anyone would believe this if I was to... tell them that this is what's going on, but
I wonder how many guys are out there seeing a woman and maybe thinking that she's a little bit bougie or whatever, and then going, I'm gonna cut this, and like just start doing some way out stuff just to be like that. Because I have heard that so many. Well, I have a lot of guys in my life with the boys and the this and the that, and the stories that some of them tell, whether it's my ex-brother-in-laws or whatever, and I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
If you know that she's more of a classy lady, why would you purposely do that? It's like, what is this thing about like grabbing like a unicorn from out in the wild that you're like, she's a unicorn, and then trying to break her down is like the crazy for the 15 that are watching, right?
No, and then the slurping of like the drinks. You're at a restaurant. They're going to serve you more. Like, you just ask for more. The slurping, it's the eating, and then it's like the sucking on the fingers. Like, and I've experienced it all to the point where it literally has come down to it being a deal breaker for me.
Okay, do you walk away? Like, what do you do? Do you see it through?
So I you know me. I see everything through. Like, I will see it all through. Because to me, I'm like, I'm just going to finish this off. It doesn't mean that I have to go marry the guy. But I will call him out and be like, do you have to blow your nose at the table? Not to be rude, but like, there's a restroom. I'll wait. Don't worry. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Or, hey, there's a spoon and a fork. You can probably, use both of them. If it's a first date, I try to be very mindful and not be so rude, but it's like, it sometimes is distracting. And believe me, like, a lot of these people do not have table manners, a lot of them. And if they ever do, I'm like, wow, he was raised right. He actually has table manners.
Yeah.
Like, it's very impressive. It's the little things, as silly as it sounds, like, you're going to get me on the table manners. I don't know if that's ever been your experience.
I mean, it's like your love language partly. I had witnessed something, not with the person on my date, but a person that was sitting across the way, and that person, the lady went to the restroom, and he drilled in his nose. He was picking his nose.
I haven't experienced that yet.
Okay, and then he clearly had, like, he found gold. Okay.
Oh, hello.
And then he rubbed it on his crotch. He wiped.
No.
Those of you listening on the podcast, if you can see Dahlia's face.
I want to puke. Wait.
Well, she was in the restroom. And then he's so drill.
No.
Boom, found
was
gold.
he wearing?
And then he looked around and he put it on his crotch to wipe it on the crotch of his. Now he was wearing jeans and a blazer. So
it was blazer? So it was like a nice dress shirt.
It was like a nice restaurant we're at. And he was across the way and he rubbed it on his jeans, on the bulge of his jeans, like rubbed it. And I was like, what the hell kind of place is this? To like, what's happening? So I did mention to the person across, like, oh my gosh, you won't even believe what I just saw. And then the person I was talking to said, that's genius that he put it there. And I'm like, wait, what? The whole thing was gross to me.
But why would that be genius? So I wonder.
I don't know. If you're a guy,
I mean, I would imagine that, like, you wouldn't get lucky. Like, why does he have a big old booger there?
Maybe that was his way of, like, you know how you'll hear girls say, oh, I'm not going to shave so that way I don't sleep with them on the first date. Maybe that's his trying to be, like,
his way of being.
But I witnessed it in a restaurant. Now, granted, the woman was not sitting in front of him.
Okay.
She had stepped away. But I saw him kind of look around. He drilled, and he didn't get his which was cloth napkin, but he didn't do none of that. He put it on the crotch of his pants.
Oh. You know the one thing that I can say for myself that I've noticed that is a really difficult thing that I can say that, like, maybe isn't really real good etiquette is, like, when you're eating a piece of steak and then you think you're going to get, like, a good piece of meat and all of a sudden it's, like, the fat of the steak.
Okay.
And then now it's, like, do I spit it out or do I swallow? It's like the famous spit out or swallow. And I mean, I actually very politely, kindly, just like I spit it out. I'm like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not gonna eat that. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And but I've experienced just about everything from, like, a guy reaching over and, like, getting chips and, like, slurping it like soup. And just,
what about the double dipping thing?
Okay, okay. So that, to me, the double dipping thing to me is, I don't know, like, if you've been with him for a very, very long time, then it's like his germs are your germs. But if you're on the first date and it's just you and him and it's a first date, I think it's disgusting.
So I think there's never a good time to double dip.
I agree with you.
You could easily turn the chip around.
So I agree with you 100%. But the only time that I could bypass that is if I've already, we've already been dating for, like, a year, and it's like, okay, no big deal, and it's not going to be a big deal. And then if it's just him and I eating, it's not a big deal.
Can we just remind the audience that this whole show exists because a man did not give Dahlia fresh lettuce on her plate?
Yes.
Like, let's just put it into perspective.
But for the record, and it goes back to the etiquette.
Yeah.
But for the record, I always think I wouldn't do that to someone.
Right.
So they shouldn't do that to me. And it wasn't like, it was just a little work. I mean, this thing was mushy and disgusting. Like, it shouldn't even have been in the refrigerator to begin with.
It shouldn't have been an option at all. It should have
never been even on my plate. And so for me, it was like, wow. I mean, I would never. I would never serve anybody that.
Hey,
ever.
Talk about, turning chicken shit into chicken salad. Here we are in the whole ass global podcast, 10 countries.
Just going strong.
Just going strong. But the etiquette thing, I've seen a few things. Belching is obviously guys do burp.
Right.
Okay, the flatulence, I don't. We've talked about this. The flatulence, if some guy just rips one off, I don't care if we're in bed. I don't care if you're on my couch. I don't care. Like, I literally almost didn't even end up with the guy that I married.
Yeah.
Because he literally stretched his leg out one day when we were on a walk, and like a whole ass big old loud fart ripped out.
Yeah.
And I stayed behind. It was like a group of us. Yeah. And he was walking ahead, and he didn't even know. I just stood there in utter shock. And they turned around laughing, like, what's wrong? And my response, okay, this was 17-year-old me. My response was, I really thought we liked each other. Aww. That I literally took that as an actual assault on me. It's that bad. If somebody's gonna like rip one off.
Well, I could see that. I don't think it's a big deal. But it's not like I just think when you're in public places, and it's not that you're like faking it to make it, but you should have
decency.
Yeah, you should just be mindful of other people. If you're at home and I don't know, you ate beans and it just didn't sit right,
that's what the bathroom is for.
I get it, but like,
do you know that if you smell it, it's because there's actual crap particles in there? I heard
if you smelt it, you dealt it. I've heard that too.
So I think everybody has their thing, and for you, it's like the way they stab the steak.
It's the way they stab their steak. It's the way that they eat, the way that they like slurp, the way that they grab pasta with their hands and like slurp it in their mouth. It's like, did you like, where were you the last 20 years?
If the guy does all that on the third date, are you continuing on?
So, okay, it depends. So, and here's why. Because there is nothing that can't be fixed. If the person doesn't see a problem and doesn't want to fix it, then that's going to be a problem because it's going to drive me nuts. But if the person doesn't really notice that they don't have etiquette at the table, but they're willing to take classes, then you know, I think that at that point it's like, okay, well, maybe I could help groom him as you know, as a man. Maybe he wasn't taught, you know, proper etiquette when he was growing up. And so there's a lot of cool schools, and for me, I've always even tried to like enroll and like get like the girls to kind of join me, because I'm sure that I'm probably not like the Titanic lady, you know, like like you eat from the outside in. I'm sure I don't do that. I'm sure that I break all the rules too, but I don't slurp on my pasta. I'm not grabbing it with my hands. It's just, I don't know. Or
maybe you're okay if he rips one off on the couch after dinner? Is that where?
No,
because if I'm on a third date,
okay, but
and he rips one off on the couch, I'm telling you, I'm going to be sitting there in utter shock, like, because now I have a decision to make.
Okay, well, so for me, I would probably think, okay, this is where like it swaps for you and I. I could think like, wow, this guy's really comfortable, or he's just really disgusting, and it depends on what I've seen of him. That would make me think he's just really disgusting, and it would really probably like turn me off. But if it was kind of accidental, like if he lifted up his leg and it was the third date, I'd be like, he's just being really freaking rude. and maybe then I'd make a decision. I don't know. It would have to be circumstantial, as they say. Like, it would be based on circumstances. I don't know.
If there's 15 men watching this show, do you see how we go into full Inspector Gadget mode and we're like breaking down the farts of a man? Because like it all matters. It all adds
it really
up.
All does,
and it all matters.
Yeah, no, it really does.
I just know for me personally, I have a thing with flatulence, and that includes the burping thing.
Right.
And the burping is more, like you said, the when, the where, and stuff like that.
Right,
versus like, oh, we're at the house and he just ate a lot. He loves my meal that I made him, and then it just came out or whatever.
But there's a way to do it too, though, right? Like there's times where I'm, you know, drinking Perrier or like soda water, and then all of a sudden I have to burp. I get my napkin and kind of go, you know, under my breath. It happens. We're human.
Yeah, but these are men.
But these are men, and I get it. And, you know, you can look away and kind of, to yourself, kind of burp. Or you can literally just belch.
Like those dudes that, like, open their mouth all wide, and they're like, and they drag it out, and it has, like, this high pitch, and, like, oh my goodness.
So true story, even though I'm talking all this smack, like, okay, so, because I have to be really, really, really real. Like, if I have enough of anything with gas, I can literally belch like a man. Like, literally belch like a man.
Really?
Of course, I choose not to. I know it's kind of shocking, but I can. But again, it's like, it's a time and place for everything. Like, I'm not going to sit there and do that at a restaurant. I'm going to grab my napkin and I'm going to go under my breath. Maybe if I'm having like a belching war, I'm going to win. Time and place for everything. Time and place for everything. You know, it's like, I just, you know, if I'm dating the guy and it's like 3 days in, you're not going to see me belch.
Okay, if he burps, are you going to be like, oh yeah? Are you going to see his burp and raise him?
No, I'm probably not.
Okay.
No, I'm probably not. But I think maybe if we have that dynamic going back and forth, and then one day I'm just like, I'm going to shock him and I'm going to belch like a freaking dude. Then I might do that.
there was a TikTok that was going viral, and I could not stop laughing because the woman, you don't see the woman, you just see that she's aiming her camera towards her husband.
Okay.
And he's sitting there, and he's like this, total guy's guy,
Yeah.
maybe looks like a construction worker, and he's just sitting on the couch watching
Yeah.
TV. And she rips the loudest, longest, like, fart. The thing has bass. Okay.
Oh man.
And it is just like, and his face, he turns because she's capturing his reaction, and he blinks several times, and then he just stares at her, and you can just see that he's in utter shock, and then it keeps going. It's like, and then he just turns away and stares at the TV, but his whole demeanor is like he's just sitting there, like not knowing what to do.
He's not sure if it's real.
And it was, and you can tell it's real. He literally had this look on his face like the veil was broken. And I literally went in the comments, like, the veil has officially been broken.
Off.
He's never going to see her the same ever again. It was the longest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, we as human beings, we experience like pretty off, gnarly, weird, wild stuff. Sometimes, whether that's like, I can't stress it enough. It's time and place for everything. Things will happen. Maybe the food didn't sit right, and now you have an episode in the restroom. It happens to everybody, but it's not. It's just where you do it, how you do it, how long you've known the person. It's a whole thing. It's like a whole thing.
All right, guys, we just had a whole episode about flatulence and burping and etiquette.
And belching and slurping and
ladies,
everything.
if you're watching, you know what to do. I know plenty of ladies that they just straight up, sometimes they look so classy and they just come off like dudes in this way. They think it's so funny. But at the end of the day, if you have an opinion, you're watching this, drop the comments, let us know. We want to really talk about it because everybody, again, we have our deal breakers, but then it's like, we'll let people pass.
And then maybe, what, sometimes too, though, really quick, sometimes I don't think you realize that you're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't realize that you are not, that you're double dipping.
Yep.
That you are not eating the right way, that you're slurping, that you're grabbing it with your hands,
Picking your
that
nose.
you're picking your nose, that you're biting your nails, that you're flickering it, that you're doing all these things. And we're all guilty of it because I can't tell you that I'm not. I love eating with my hands. But there's a place to do it.
Yep.
On period.
Yep.
So anyway, that's all we have.
That's what we got.
And don't forget that you deserve fresh lettuce and do not accept nothing less.
Nothing less than fresh lettuce.
Cheers.